welcome to EZGlutenFree. Today we're going to be making those deliciously decadent carrot cake cupcakes. They're gluten-free, grain-free, and my answer to what's for dessert since my oldest son announced that he went paleo a few months ago and happens to be coming over for Easter dinner. It has been kind of challenging trying to figure out what to feed him when he comes to visit. But if I keep coming up with recipes like that, I might just go paleo myself someday. These cupcakes are cut above the desserts we're used to eating nutritionally, but you're not going to be sacrificing anything here. Now to make this deliciously decadent dessert, we'll need 1.5 cups of fresh grated carrots, which for me was 2 large carrots, 1/2 cup each of raisins and chopped walnuts. And for the raisins, first I soaked them for about 10 minutes, then drained them and gave them a rough chop with a pair of scissors so that the cake would have more delicate, smaller raisin pieces instead of big plump raisins, which I think are better suited for muffins. Now in a large bowl, add 1.5 cups of almond meal, and for this recipe I like to use the variety that's ground with the skins because I think it adds a depth of flavor and color that works really well in a cake like this. Now add 1/2 teaspoon each of both baking soda and baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, then toss in the spices. And I use the mixture of 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon each of both nutmeg and cardamom. Stir them together using a wire whisk to get them well combined and lump free. Then add the carrots, walnuts, and raisins. Stir to get everything evenly distributed, and set this aside while we do the wet ingredients. In a medium bowl, whisk together 3 eggs, and they'll need to be at room temperature so they don't start to solidify the 1/2 cup of butter I just tossed in there. But make sure the butter is not too hot or it might start to scramble those eggs. And we'll need 1/2 cup of agave nectar, and I've got the amber variety here, which not only has a deeper flavor than the light agave, it also ranks lower on the glycemic index. Now whisk it together with the butter and eggs, add a teaspoon of vanilla, and once you've got all the wet ingredients well combined and smooth, add the wet to the dry and stir to combine. It's really simple to do by hand. You're not even going to need a mixer for this one. Now line a cupcake tin with 12 paper liners and evenly distribute the batter among the 12 wells, which should end up to be filled almost to the top. Then bake them in a preheated oven for 24 to 26 minutes or until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. Let them cool in the pan for about 10 minutes because they're pretty fragile at this point, and once they're a bit cooler, you can use the edge of a butter knife to help you lift them out of the pan and get them onto a baking rack to cool completely. And you'll need them to be completely cool before frosting so the icing doesn't melt. Now to make that icing, I've got 8 ounces or 1 cup of well softened cream cheese, 4 ounces or 1/2 cup of softened butter, 1/4 cup of agave nectar, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Now just beat all these ingredients together until light and fluffy. Then if you want to make them fancy, add the frosting to a piping bag with a medium star tip. Then start at the center and swirl a rosette on top of each cupcake. And to garnish these, as well as to forewarn your guests that these have nuts in them, I topped each cupcake with a walnut piece. And since there's no real binding agent in these, I like to chill them before serving to solidify the butter in the recipe and make them a little sturdier. And when you do serve these, you're going to be amazed at both the texture and flavor of these delicious, warmly spiced little pieces of heaven. And if you want to make a double layer cake or a 9 by 12 inch sheet cake instead of the cupcakes, just double the recipe. And if you'd like to print a copy of today's recipe, or to check out the bake times for the different sized pans, you could always visit my blog in the link below. And for brand new recipes every week, don't forget to subscribe. See you again soon.